And thank you for being a sponsor of this show.
Appreciate it, MCS General Contracting, Chris Leha, 100%, man. You do a fantastic job out there. Thank you for supporting the shows here at the Alamo City Podcast Network. Again, if you want to subscribe, go to YouTube, search Alamo City Podcast Network. Subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if we get there, we'll be doing some crazy, crazy stuff there. Love it, love it, love it, man. So again, we're talking Clay, Young, and Wimby. That'd be an awesome thing. Tim, I like that. See, Tim, Derek Gervin agrees with you. That would be a really successful offseason. Cooper Flag in 2025, that's what I'm saying. You got to keep that Hawks pick because they're going to be a lot of rebound team, and I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. So chances of you getting Cooper Flag that summer definitely would be good. Clay, Wembanyama, and Trey would be really nice. That would get the ball rolling 100%, man. So contenders, man. Beginning of the season, before the NBA season started, Gio, I had two teams. I picked Denver out of the West, which is still looking pretty good, and I had Boston out of the East, and I took Boston to win the title. So legit or not legit on those two? Or do you see anybody else coming up that you'll be scared? Now, Oklahoma City is another one. But I think the lack of big men for Oklahoma City is going to kind of come back and bite them in the butt. But we'll see.
Yeah, I hate to bring in age, but look, this is a team that really hasn't had a lot of playoff success, right? So they're young, kind of that first trip around. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. But look, watching the game last night, Rudy SGA, man, that is such a phenomenal player. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy how Kawhi, because I say Kawhi basically shipped him out of the Clippers, didn't know what he had, right? But you see Oklahoma, the Timberwolves, a team who has been on the rise the last few seasons. That's going to be a tough out. Denver, obviously, 42-19. Watch out for the Clippers already. I mean, the West 1 through 5 is going to be tough. I mean, look, Phoenix, the Mavericks will be better than this, but according to the West, Rudy, I'm not going to shoot you down and say not the Nuggets because they've won 6 straight. They've been on a roll, and they've been playing very well. That team's starting to come together. This is the time of year, Rudy, where you see teams start to pull away, separate. And also, I think you might see the Spurs win more games. I mean, it's towards the end of the season soon, Rudy. You know how some guys are. They're thinking about Cancun in the offseason, right? Thinking about some different vacation plans. So, but no, in the West, give me Denver, the Clippers. I like the Clippers here at this spot. The Timberwolves, I really want to push hard for the Thunder because I think, man, but they remind me of the Memphis Grizzlies a few years ago, right? A young, hot team, Rudy, right? Coming onto the scene. And where is Memphis right now? Now, obviously, they lost their best player, but Memphis is 20-41. So, but in the Eastern Conference, Rudy, I talked about the Milwaukee Bucks, and I know, you said a lot of stuff. Don't look now, but the Bucks have won. They've won 5 straight. They're 40-21. Though Boston right now, Rudy, it's the cream of the crop. I mean, what they did last night, that team is rolling, and whoever comes out of the West, I suppose it's going to be probably a 6-7 game series. Unless though Boston's humming so high, Rudy, that they're sweeping or beating teams in 5 games in the East, and by the time they come to the finals, it doesn't matter who it is. It could just be Boston's year.
I think, and the reason why I took Boston because I mean the Holiday move, man. I mean, you got to understand. You already had Derek White. I mean, you had a perimeter defender. You had a guy that could score. He fit perfect with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Porzingis is in his own there. They've got great bench play. I mean, you would think if you didn't have a good bench, and I know the starters were pulled yesterday for Golden State, but if your bench was weak, they wouldn't have been able to keep that lead the way that they did. I mean, yesterday just showed how Boston can really rise to the occasion, and that's why I picked them to win the whole thing this year. They were my pick to win, and there would be a Denver-Boston series. But I think also, Gio, I mean, if you're looking at the East, man, you've got so many beat-up teams. Cleveland's beat up. Now New York is beat up with the Brunson injury. I mean, Philadelphia with no Embiid. It's safe to say this, man, that I get Milwaukee's the second best, but Orlando could be upsetting a lot of these teams because they're healthy right now. We know telling which teams are going to be healthy in the East.
They're 8-2 in the last 10. They've been playing very well. I know they just spanked the Pistons, but kind of caught some of that game. It's the Magic, a team who had draft picks, right, Rudy, start to come to their own. But when you look at the Eastern Conference, like you said, Rudy, Cleveland's been beat up the Knicks right now. Joel Embiid, I mean, could Jimmy have another run at him with the Heat? I don't think it's for them to beat the Celtics, Rudy. It's going to take a Herculean effort. The Pacers are interesting. They can put up a lot of points, but they don't play any damn defense. So when you look at the East, it's Rudy. If Boston doesn't get to the finals, at least it's to be such a disappointment. There are 8 games, or about 8 games, over Milwaukee. If the Bucks go on a losing streak, Rudy, they might be 10, 12, 13 games ahead of them at the end of the season. If you don't win the West, I do think the Bucks may have something to say.
Boo.
If Giannis and Dame, Rudy, you must admit though, if they go bonkers in a series where Dame has 35 and Giannis has 25, 30 points, I mean,
they can't keep it up for a whole series.
Well, that's going to be the thing. Can the other guys, Chris Middleton, Lopez, right? Can the other guys stand up? But right now, Rudy, your pick, Denver and Boston, it doesn't look too far-fetched.
Yeah, I honestly, if you're looking at the East, man, I mean, Boston obviously runs away with it. I don't believe in Milwaukee. I've been saying that for a long time. I don't believe in Milwaukee. I mean, Orlando is probably the only other team that I would even give legit credit to if nobody else stays healthy. That's a very legit case is Orlando. But
yeah, well, look, I mean, the Knicks are going to play the 5. Well, so the Knicks could play. Well, they could play the 76ers. That's going to cancel out 2 good teams right there, or one team right there. Now the Cavaliers are interesting. I could definitely see Orlando going in there and winning that series. It'll be interesting to see what Miami does, Rudy, right? Because 2-7, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat upset the Bucks, because you know how the playoffs, the Miami Heat seem to be just a different team. They kick it up a notch, and they've already beaten the Bucks in the postseason before. But Rudy, Boston, 48-12. I mean, Rudy, how many games? What's their record at that? Where do you think they get to? How many wins? Because they're at 48. No, for
Boston?
Yeah, for Boston.
So with Boston, I can see them at around 64, 65 probably.
I was going to say 64, 65 is probably where you're going to see them. And that's a lot of wins, Rudy, to not get to the finals. But honestly, we'll see how the end runs. They're going to be disappointed too, though, if they don't win, because they already went a few years ago, right? You don't win, and now you go back. And but this could be the time for Boston. And, for the West, it's some tough teams out there. It's going to be a tough out for some of those seeds.
So in looking at the West, man, I mean, the West is okay. You got OKC, Minnesota, Denver, the Clippers, and let's be real, dude. The whole West side. I mean, New Orleans and Sacramento. These teams are going to beat up on each other. You're going to see some long series in the West. You're going to see more 4 or 5 game series in the East, but you're going to see some 6, 7 game series in the West. And it's going to be terrifying for anybody coming out of the West, because you're going to hope to be healthy. You're going to hope to be rested at some point. And I just don't see – honestly, I love the Western Conference teams. They're the most loaded conference, but I think they're going to beat up each other so much on that.
And that's what I was about to say, Rudy. You beat each other up so much that even if you're quote-unquote maybe the better team, in the East, these – Boston or even the Bucks kind of gliding through. By the time you get to the finals, maybe you've played 2 7-game series, right? I mean,
exactly.
You got the Sacramento Kings here. If the playoffs start today, they'll play the Pelicans. That's probably going to go 7. Those teams are so evenly matched. Look at Dallas going on the road to Oklahoma City. You can't tell me that Kyrie and Luka couldn't beat the Thunder, Rudy, in a 6 7-game series. I could definitely see now they have a lot of issues, especially on defense, but nonetheless. I mean, look at the Lakers, right? If the Lakers could get in, I mean, look at the Jazz. I mean, they're at number 11. They've kind of been up and down this year. They're terrible on the road, absolutely horrific. But the West, really, they're all going to beat each other up. And, as Derek said 65 wins. That's probably going to be for Boston. But here in the West, Rudy, Oklahoma City, how many wins does the number one seed get? It doesn't have to necessarily be Oklahoma. What are you thinking here?
So Boston will be the overall number one
one.
seed. I think at like 65 was what we were saying, 64, 65 wins. In the West, I think if I'm looking at it, can we legit say 56?
I was going to say 55, 56. That looks like that's going to probably, because they're all going to play each other, right? So
yeah, they're all going to beat up on each other.
They're all going to beat up on each other. So,
yeah, and that's the thing. Their home record is 29-3, Boston. Like Derek is saying, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If I give one team a chance in the East, it's going to be Orlando. And that's it. And I don't even give them I give them a fighting chance, but not.
Yeah, there's still also another young team, right? And not a lot of very young. Rudy, and let's say
It's hard.
Celtics got the number one seed.
Yeah.
Who's the 8th seed team that you think, in the perfect world, that you have the matchup? What team do you think gives the Celtics that first round toughest matchup? Right now they're playing Indiana, right?
Man,
so
if Miami drops to 8 and they play Boston, I would give Miami a legit shot of upsetting the Celtics, only because you and I know we love March Madness. Miami is always that Michigan State team or UConn team where they just kind of come out of nowhere and start winning. They've had an up and down season, but they just tend to just keep passing. Tom Izzo gets Michigan State to the Final Four. You're like, how the F did you get to the Final Four? We didn't even know you guys were still in the tournament. Like,
that's the team, Rudy, because Indiana, their defensive issues, the Bulls, no thank you, and the Hawks, whatever. But that's the one team. And who knows, really, Miami could purposely try to get that 8th seed. Yeah. And that's a team that, honestly, I wouldn't love playing in the first round, simply because just that mentality, right? That Spoelstra and what he does there, he gets the most out of that. Rudy, you talk about a coach getting the most out of their talent.
Yeah.
There's some good coaches in this league. Eric doesn't get enough comments about how great of a coach. He gets the most out of his players. Celtics, he in the first round, get your popcorn ready, because I think that could be, even if it's a 5-game series, Rudy, it's going to be a fun 5-game series.
And Derek's got Indiana, and he says because they can make it a track meet.
Yeah.
And it's a good point. I mean, you could run Boston out of the gym, but I think with Boston, they're a lot more controlled than I think Indiana is, and that's just my opinion. But we've got The Rock online. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick commercial break. Rock wanted to jump on, and he wanted to brag about how good the Texas Longhorns were at the Combine, which I'm going to give him his 5 minutes of fame here, because to me, Texas was just Texas. And we'll get Rock here on the flip side. This is Sleep the League. Coach Gio, Rudy Campos Sr., again, all part of the Alamo City Podcast Network. Go to YouTube. Search Alamo City Podcast Network. Hit that subscribe button. You can join us Monday through Friday, 2 to 3:30. We'll only be here till 3 today, but normally we're at 2 to 3:30. This is Coach Gio. This is Rudy Campos Jr. Rock on the flip side. We'll be right back.
Locked on Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on Threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow, not only on Threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@Locked On Spurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
That is Jeff Garcia. He's the Locked On Spurs, part of the Locked On Network. They talked about Bronny James possibly, drafted by the Spurs to attract LeBron. Pretty good thing out there. I personally don't see LeBron coming to San Antonio, whether you have Bronny or not.
No disrespect, San Antonio. You're not getting
I said
LeBron
it.
James.
I said it. You're not going to get LeBron James. I actually come out on the Locked On Spurs episode tomorrow. It's going to be released. Be sure to check that out. Let us know how we did. It'll be released tomorrow morning. Jump on the show tomorrow. Let me know. But for now, we're going to bring in the man, the myth, the legend, the Longhorn man himself. That is Rocky Rock Garza. Rock, man. Phone bill's paid. Your car works. You're back on the show. What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. Just hauled ass over here. So to get going, because I wanted to at least be on the last end of the show. So I'm here, man. I'm doing good. Life's good.
Dude, I want to bring this up before I get into your Longhorn takes because they were the greatest team ever assembled at the Combine, according to you and other people that I saw. But remember that time on the radio where your friend called in and he was taking a dump while talking to us? Who the hell was that?
That was my friend Jeff. He's I always clown him for doing that. And I remember when he just busted out cursing and Shemaiah had to go beep.
Oh man, I think that was the most that dumb button has ever worked at that station. Period. I mean, you just saw Shemaiah like that.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole call. I'm like, forget it. He was like, you know what? Forget it. He just hung up.
It's funny because he's a Patriots fan also, so I just been clowning him this whole past season and off season. It's been great.
Well, speaking of the Patriots, dude, we're gonna get into some NFL Combine talk here. Rock, I want to give you're coming to the Longhorn stuff now. Obviously, the big story when it came to the 40 was Xavier Worthy, man. He broke a Combine record, 4.21, which I don't think Gio can make. I don't think Gio can go 5.1. I'll give him maybe 4.9 at the fastest.
Well, but back in the day, I actually ran a.
Don't give me the bullshit.
No, a 5 flat.
Show. You can't do that.
A 5 flat.
So, a 5 flat. Okay, I'll give you 5. I was giving you 5.1, but I gave you 4.9. So I guess we're right about there. Rock, you're 40. Are you as fast as Xavier?
Oh no, definitely not. I never will be. I was talking to my girlfriend about this other day.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually yesterday, and I was like, do you think I would ever be fast as Xavier? And she looked at me and be like, and she just laughed, and I was like, damn, that hurts. But I told her, I was like, I can run about, if I tried full effort, probably run like a 5 to a 5.3 right now. And she was like, there's no way. And I was like, damn, you're really underestimating my athleticism.
Well, needless to say, you guys are a lot faster than me. I probably would come in right under 7, maybe 8. No doubt about it. I could roll my way in the 40 to probably a 5.5, probably, but can't get any faster than that. Let us know how fast you guys are out there on the 40-yard dash. But Rock, the Longhorns showing out at the Combine. Give me a little bit about your Longhorns, because a couple of them actually not necessarily made their way into the first round, but they did improve their draft status as far as physicals and stuff like that. I don't take crap. I don't really watch the Combine for throwing or anything like that. I can care less about that. I'm more about the medical and physical stuff. But the Longhorns were a very hot topic at the Combine.
No, and you hit the nail on the head. So I think the one Longhorn who made the most money out of all of them was arguably Brian Murphy. Yeah. I think he had a stellar Combine. People knew what he had going in, but just seeing a big man move like that was absolutely crazy. I would be so scared to be seeing Byron Murphy come after me like that. He's weighing 296 and just running just under 5. So that's pretty scary, but I think all the Longhorns had a solid Combine. Before we jump into the star guys, you had a guy like Christian Jones who was somewhat shaky in college. He had it on and off seasons, but I think he after his performance, he elevated him, maybe a respectable 5th round or so. Mm-hmm. The one guy I didn't want to see run and do most drills was Jordan Winnington. Love Winnington, but he always dealt with hamstring issues and just injuries, so I'm hoping that's not going to be an issue for him.
Yeah, that's the thing, is the injury part on all that stuff. Chris Gonzalez is in here. So you're saying the T-shirt champs performed well at the Combine? Go Horns! Yeah, the T-shirt champs, they performed really well at the Combine. But nonetheless, I mean, really, I don't even know if there was a Longhorn I would say that would even have made it in the first round on my mock drafts. Maybe Murphy, I think, at the end of the first round, but the Longhorns, I mean, was there any chance to maybe one of your mock drafts where you would see a Longhorn get in the first round?
No, I mean, I think the one guy who may elevated himself that's, teams are going to ooze over is Worthy, the big playmaker guy. And Worthy, everyone knew coming in Worthy was fast, but they didn't know he was that fast. They always say, 40-yard dash and game speed are completely different. But if anyone watched the Horns, you see this guy is blazing on the field. I mean, before Worthy had that performance, I figured he was a second-round guy, and AD would be the one wide receiver that could go in. Because, going in before the combine, I thought it would only be Murphy and AD at most, maybe by like a Chiefs or a Ravens. But you may see three guys go off the board now, Murphy, AD, and Worthy. But it's going to be real interesting. The one guy I want the Cowboys to go after is Murphy. But, I wouldn't mind them to go receiver too with Mitchell and Worthy.
Yeah, it's tough, especially with the Cowboys drafting so late. I think you're going to have to go offensive line, especially with Tyron not coming back. Gio, there's been some news already. Mike Evans re-signed with the Buccaneers, which I kind of already expected. I think we talked last week that we expected Mike Evans to re-sign. I fully expect Chris Jones to re-sign now with the Chiefs now that they're going to franchise tag L'Jarius Sneed. One guy that I'm kind of getting sold more on going back to his team, I'm really feeling that Kirk Cousins is going to stay in Minnesota next year, and they're going to take off Kirk Cousins off the free agent, off the free agent list, basically, which opens the room for Justin Fields. Now, I see Justin Fields being – it's kind of weird, man. We talk about this every damn week, and it never changes. And it seems to change every day. But now it's more than likely that you're going to see Justin gone. And the two teams right now are Atlanta and Pittsburgh are the two teams that we're seeing being rumored. So you weren't here last Friday when we talked, me and Derek, but Caleb pretty much walked into the combine like a diva, and I'll call it like an asshole. He walked in there cocky as hell, and it just felt like the Bears already committed to drafting Caleb Williams, which is a huge mistake, but I'll get into that in my own time. Do you think the Justin Fields trade is probably looming already? Do we see it draft night? Do we see it after draft night? And let's be real, dude, I don't expect any team to give them a first-round pick for Justin. I think they're just going to have to take exactly what they get.
I think, that's probably exactly what they get. Rudy, we've talked about this over the last several months, if not the damn entire season, and what's going to happen with Justin Fields. As we notice, the Bears are probably going to get the number one pick. We talked about it. Right now, the feeling I'm getting from Caleb is he's probably going to Chicago. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields did remove the Bears from the social media. His excuse was, well, I don't want to see football all off season from the Bears. Whatever the case may be, I think the writing's on the wall, and I just, from the vibe I'm getting from Chicago and some of the things that they've been coming out and saying, Justin's days are numbered in Chicago, so I'll be surprised if they don't go with Caleb Williams. Look, Caleb's a diva. I think we all can agree he's a showboater. His dad's out there doing LeVar Bar stuff. Look, I know Rudy's sick and tired of it, but to me,
I hate the fact
when I go to college, I look at least production. What did he do against his competition? And listen, the stats don't lie. As much as of a diva he is, I saw this guy fall on the floor, get up, and throw 80 yards. It's just his arm strength down the field. He can make any throw he wants to. Rudy, I get it, but it is what it is. And the Bears, if they do this, finally, the city of Chicago, a city that has a lot of stuff going on, but if they can get their quarterback, that city is going to be made. And Justin Fields, I think he's going to go to Atlanta. I wouldn't mind Pittsburgh, Rudy. Let him compete against Pickett there, and we'll see what happens. Listen, Pittsburgh has an offensive staff. Like, they have some pieces there, the players. They have a running game. They have two good receivers. The one is a diva in Pickens. I wouldn't mind seeing him there. And then they also have a new offensive coordinator, Rudy. Help me. Do you remember who they hired as the Arthur Smith? Oh, yeah, that's right, Arthur Smith from Atlanta. Look, I don't think Arthur's actually that bad. I actually think he just never had a quarterback. But nonetheless,
he's a terrible head coach. He's a good offensive coordinator. He's a terrible head coach.
Listen, someone goes basically wait, but you go 7-9 for 3 years. I don't think. The whole Jeff Fisher 7-9, but like I don't think Arthur's a terrible head coach. I just think he never had a quarterback that he felt confident in. But we'll see what he does in Pittsburgh.
I get it. He didn't have a quarterback there, so I'll give him.
If he has a quarterback, if he has Kirk Cousins healthy for a full year, they probably win that division and get a home playoff game.
They win the division. All it was a quarterback last year, and then they win the division. There were times I felt like he misused Bijan last year. I mean, a lot of opportunities were missed using Bijan Robinson, but nonetheless, Arthur Smith isn't there anymore. And the Caleb thing, man, I get it. I told you a million times, Gio, I see the talent, but I just don't incorporate it to the NFL standards at all. I mean, the talent is there. You're talented enough to get drafted. You're talented enough to play in the league. Doesn't mean you're actually going to do good in the league. I mean, this is my fear. You draft Caleb Williams hoping he's CJ Stroud, but really you get Joey Harrington.
Oh, come on. Joey Harrington, Rudy, stop it. That's so unbecoming of you, Rudy. Stop it.
No, what do you get? What's the worst that Caleb Williams can be? What is the worst he can be in your opinion? I mean, he's not CJ Stroud.
Okay. If he's not who we think he is,
who can he be?
He could be a poor man.
Don't even give me poor man. That's bullshit. Don't give me poor man. I'm talking.
I don't know. I look
because there is more concerns, or actually, there is more likely for him to suck in the NFL than there is to succeed.
Don't
just hear it from me. Listen to everybody this weekend, man. You have Merrill Hodge comes out. You have a lot of GMs that are really concerned about Caleb Williams, man.
Rudy, look, the draft is one of those things. The combine, you never know. At the end of the day, you never know. Look at Orlando Brown. Go look at his combine. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
The combine's good for one thing, brother, and that's evaluation. Physical evaluation. It has nothing to do with workouts. I don't care if you can throw the ball 60 miles an hour. I don't care if you can throw the ball 80 yards down the field. When there's nobody rushing you, you don't have pads on. Even receivers catching all these balls, making great catches, it's a drill. You don't have a helmet on. You don't have – I mean, there's so many factors. That's why the combine is a waste, bro.
It's a lot goes into it. There's guys who've done great, and then they get to the NFL, they're terrible. Listen, I know I hype up Caleb, and I'm gonna be the fall guy if things don't go well. Everyone's gonna blame me. But look,
I sure hope so. You don't let me live the Daniel Jones shit down.
You will never the Caleb thing. But like, there are also some good surprises, Rudy. I thought Joe Milton had a good combine. He threw the ball very well. He had that 75-yard bomb. Mm-hmm. He's an interesting kid. There's a lot of good. It's good to see guys that you don't always hear about, right? Like, man, like that guy had a good off. Man, if he gets in the right team, right system. I thought Spencer Rattler did not have a good combine. Look, it's just a combine. At the end of the day, you never know.
Yeah, Rock, bringing up Milton, man. I was gonna say before you get into your point, I see the Cowboys drafting a QB somewhere late in this draft. I circled Joe Milton for the Cowboys in one of the first, like maybe 4 rounds, possibly. I think he would be a tremendous fit. If not, do you see another guy that they could go after? Or if not, give me a player for the Cowboys that you would like them see them draft, because in the first round, I think they've got to go offensive line. If they have anybody else's offensive line, you need to send Jerry to bed and not wake him up till Monday morning.
No, one quarterback I'm enamored by is Spencer Rattler. I know he may be rising up draft boards quickly, so I don't think the Cowboys will pull that trigger so early. But as mentioned, I love a Byron Murphy. But they really do need a running back. If they went second or third round on a running back, I know running backs can go, a little later now. I do like, Trey Benson, but that's going to be, too high for what they want. You take a risk on Jonathan Brooks in the third round. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're still taking that risk with his ACL, but the doctor who did his surgery was the Cowboys doctor, so they have inside track. But I do want them. One running back that I'm really eyeing that I have a feeling that he's gonna have a pretty good career is Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin. Big back. Those Wisconsin running backs are always just fitting the mold for what you want in a running back. I really like him. Receiver wise, I want them to go late. I know it's UTSA's own, but I really love Josh Cephas. You just saw his production what he had in college. I feel like you can get him late. He can be, a good wide receiver 3 or 4 type of guy. I know we're looking for that wide receiver 2, so whether they address that in free agency or not. But it's a lot of mock drafts on what the Cowboys are wanting. Like I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if they go receiver. Jerry's known to make those big splashes. But with the Tyron, Smith news, I wouldn't be mad at an offensive line selection. I mean, you need to solidify that line no matter who's going to be behind center, whether it's Dak or whoever's in the future. I don't want them running around like Caleb Williams at USC.
Yeah, man, and wide receiver is a really big position in this draft. I mean, you've got tons of wide receivers. Xavier Leggett out of South Carolina is another guy that I was waiting to see, his time, but also his evaluations, man. That the wide receiver, probably 15 deep, Gio, probably easily. I mean, legit. One guy that doesn't get a lot talked about, Gio, I'm bringing him up, and not because he's a Carolina guy, but I legit bringing him up because I see that if the Rams have to move on from Cooper Kupp, if they do, and they need to get somebody there, a 6'3" Dez Walker, I think fits really well with the Rams because you've got an explosive player like Puka Nacua. Now, Dez Walker can be explosive, but I think to replace a Cooper Kupp, that's not a bad pick, especially since he's going to be a late round pick, like a late, 5th, maybe 6th round pick, maybe a 4th round, I think. But I think around that 5th round pick mark for Dez Walker, maybe the Rams can get him somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting as a Rams fan because we finally have a first round pick. I mean, the Rams have had a first round pick since Jeff Fisher, right? Like it's been so long ago. So Sean McVay, he loves receivers, right? The Rams are always trying to get that next guy. Last year was Puka. A few years ago, it was Tutu Atwell, who actually played well. Unfortunately, though, he got hurt. Demarcus Robinson has been a godsend for the Rams. They actually re-signed him. Rudy, he's coming back. Cooper is kind of the guy. Rudy, I'm not sure what the Rams are going to do. You either get him to maybe take a little bit less money, or the Rams potentially could package him in a deal. I would not be surprised. I think Kupp's a really good player, but maybe in the eyes of the Rams, maybe they want to go in a different direction. But I would love the Rams to at least get one receiver, though. We need help on defense. Yeah. Our secondary needs to be improved. I do like our defensive front, but we need an outside guy. But there's definitely some receivers in there. It's going to be interesting what the Rams do because I think they always seem to surprise us where they go. I mean, no one knew really about Puka Nacua. I mean, let's all be honest. It's like we didn't think that was going to come, and he literally broke the mode for a rookie. So, yeah, for the Rams, if it's definitely a kid from North Carolina, or if it's a little bit early, I do like that 6'3" kid from Oregon.
Troy Franklin.
Yeah, so he's another big body dude. I mean, there's a lot of guys, like I said, it's deep. So you couldn't really go wrong with any of those kind of receivers late. But the Rams, I hope they focus on defense, and offensive line could definitely continue to be improved as well.
So what's kind of funny is he's been thrown around a lot, and I think he's going to probably end up dropping, even though he had a pretty good showing. Do you think the Rams could trade down, grab a couple of picks, and maybe get a Chops Robinson out of Penn State? I mean, he's going later in the first in some mock drafts. I've seen him pegged as high as 15, 16, 17. And I just find that way too high for Chops Robinson. But I think he'll drop to where the Rams are picking at 19, but I think they can actually go a little bit lower for Chops Robinson.
No, I think that would be a perfect fit. I mean, the one thing that we saw in the Lions game was the Rams didn't have a pass rush. We couldn't get to Jared as much as we would like. The Rams have good interior guys, right? Colby Turner had a fantastic rookie season. Obviously, you have Aaron Donald, but Byron Young from Tennessee last year was phenomenal on the outside, but the Rams just need a little bit more, and they can find a way to get Chop Robinson. I would not hate that at all because look, I'm not saying he's Micah Parsons, Rudy, but even if he's a quote unquote poor man's Micah Parsons, I'll also take that too, right? So the Rams, we need an edge rusher. The Rams haven't had a traditional edge rusher. I know they had Von Miller and they also had Leonard Floyd there, but the Rams need a pass rush, and a secondary is something that's also was a bit concerning, especially with their cornerbacks at certain times of the year. Sure, they haven't got bad, but no, I can't wait. We finally got a first-round draft pick. Knowing the Rams are probably going to trade that crap away, so who knows?
Yeah, knowing that they'll find a way. They'll get Jeff Fisher to come in to be a consultant and screw it up. All right, before we go, man, for Sweep the League here, quick question, just simple yes or no. Are the first 3 picks going to be quarterbacks? We'll go to Gio first. Will the first 3 picks be quarterbacks in this draft?
Yes, I can't say enough. There's going to be at least one. It's either Caleb. And I really think that kid from LSU someone might take the plunge and move up to get him.
So you're talking 1, 2, 3. The first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks. We have Washington, Chicago, and New England on the clock. All 3 are going to be quarterbacks.
Really, they all need quarterbacks.
Okay.
Because Mac Jones ain't it. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, Mac Jones isn't it. Definitely Mac Jones isn't it. Rock, you think all 3 will be quarterbacks?
Of course, but I think we're going to see someone trade up and go J.J. McCarthy early.
That's the guy I was bringing up.
Dude, he's been moving up quick.
People are becoming very enamored with him. I did see a report even today that Jaden Daniels is moving down and people are liking McCarthy more. I think you see a team take him, and it's a big surprise. But I think Caleb goes number 1 overall. You'll see a May, and then maybe it's a flip-flop, May or McCarthy May. But I think Caleb goes number 1 overall. Unless Chicago decides somewhat to trade down, I don't see Chicago not taking Caleb. I feel like they're pressured, man. I mean, they saw what they did and missed out on Mahomes. They get to Trubisky. I feel like they have to take the sure guy based on, the talent.
Caleb Williams is not Patrick Mahomes, nor will he ever be Patrick
Mahomes.
But
we never knew who Patrick was. Well, I knew who he was, and we did. But I'm just saying we didn't think Patrick was going to be this good. And his second year, he threw, 50 touchdowns, MVP. Was just or actually his third year, but just crazy numbers.
I just think they're scared to mess up, Rudy. I mean, you're the front office. You want to bring excitement. You're going Caleb Williams no matter what. I mean, he has a diva, but he has that star power to fit in a star city. It's Caleb Williams or bust.
It's going to probably end up being a bust, but I bring up McCarthy. I'm glad you brought up McCarthy because that's what I was going to talk about. He's going way up the draft boards, and I don't know why.
Well, I've seen some mocks that the Rams could also be weirdly interested. I'm just trying to say this guy threw some games, he threw 10, 15 passes. I think it's because of Harbaugh effect. That's probably what's happening. Harbaugh's putting little seeds. Oh, he's great football IQ. Okay, he can run a little bit, but I don't know about that. I mean, we'll see. I hate to judge too early.
You have to judge because here's the McCarthy fact. The JJ McCarthy fact is he did it with Harbaugh. He did it for 1 year. He came out at the right time. Harbaugh leaves. They win the national title. You will never have your draft stock any higher than it is right now. So taking advantage of it is what he is doing. JJ McCarthy probably should be ranked number 9 and all the quarterbacks, if not lower. I have Joe Milton. I have Spencer Rattler. I have Michael Pratt way ahead of JJ McCarthy. I mean, truth be told, I would put Jordan Travis ahead of JJ McCarthy. There's just a lot more quarterbacks that I have way ahead of JJ McCarthy than everybody else does, and he's possibly going number 3, top 3. That's just insane for JJ McCarthy.
It's been all week I've been seeing on my timeline. Him. I'm thinking to myself, really? Okay. Maybe the right system, you pair him up with
with who? Nobody.
Hey. Maybe he goes to Miami, maybe he goes in that system, or somehow, some way he ends up on a team that has a kind of an offensive, because to me, if you have an offensive-minded coach, I mean, not just any offensive-minded coach, but sometimes you get an offensive mind in there and, hey, maybe he strikes gold, but I personally, Rudy, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I just don't. I could be wrong. Listen, I've been wrong before, But I don't see that kid being a franchise quarterback.
There's really, honestly, man, this is all I hear from certain media people. This is, this is where the 1990-83 quarterback class, it could surpass or be similar to 1983. I have never smelled so much bullshit, even when being on a farm or wherever, period. I've never smelled that much bullshit coming
Could
out.
the Raiders, could they draft him, Rudy?
You know what? Someone's going to bite on it and they're going to struggle with it because you think it's like another Garoppolo effect or something. He may look good from time to time, but he's never going to win. He's never going to be that. And if he has any success, it's because of who his offensive coordinator is, a quarterback whisperer. That's why McCarthy would have success. And you saw Garoppolo go here, go there, and no success whatsoever, man.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry pulls the plug over there in Dallas.
Hey, if Jerry bites, Jerry might bite on it. I mean, he wants to make a splash, and Rock says no, but Jerry tends to do that. Nonetheless, man, honestly, I'm going to give you my hot take before we leave here is that I have a legit feeling that the Patriots are going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3. I really feel that they may go because their receiving core sucks, man. And I know you need a quarterback, but why are you going to drop the QB when you have no one to throw it to? These guys are not Tom Brady. They're not Patrick Mahomes.
I like Kendrick Bourne, but yeah, no, I get that in general because really they still have this guy who's with the Dolphins. What's his name? That Parker, right?
Devontae Parker.
That guy, he's terrible, man.
Terrible.
That guy's terrible. He's bad. He's slow too.
Saying. If the Patriots are there at 3, just grab. They're going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. They got to get us a cornerstone. And I think, with Jared Mayo there, they're going to go receiver. They're not going to go quarterback because I feel rounds 2, 3, or whatever, they can get a guy that can come in and just play quarterback better than Mac Jones, man. I don't think they're going to reach for a quarterback in this draft, even though they say, oh, quarterback is awesome. It's 1983 draft class. Yeah. Give me an effing break. This is not that.
Just imagine the Patriots say, hey, we want Caleb, and they move up to number 1.
They could. But
I can't
again,
wait for draft day, man.
But again, if you are the Bears and you're sold on Caleb Williams, you're not trading this pick.
The way Caleb's talking, it does feel like
done deal.
It's probably a done deal, unless the Bears got something else in mind. But Justin, don't worry about it. You're going to go to a better situation in Pittsburgh or even Atlanta. So,
or even if he stays in Chicago and they surprise everybody, go Harrison Jr. I mean, we don't know. We just know that Caleb is already talking like it is. But one thing that Caleb doesn't know is that he doesn't know that Sweep the League's coming to an end, because if he did, he'd be sad, just like all of you guys out there. So for Rock, for Coach Gio, we are going to end the show an hour early or 30 minutes early today. We all have some stuff that we've got to do, but we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have the mock draft guy in here either tomorrow or Thursday. We're working on that schedule. We want to get all your draft questions answered and stuff. If you have anything else, be sure to drop it on the comments on this video. We'll get to them as soon as we can. But for Coach Gio, for the Rock, till we see you guys tomorrow, until we speak again, we'll see you later, knuckleheads.
Peace.